To our amazing viewers at Cheating Tales Lab, we'd love to hear, which part of the world are you joining us from? Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1, Ordinary Life. Truman Santana checked his phone between rides parked outside a coffee shop in downtown Richmond. The afternoon sun filtered through the windshield of his 10-year-old Toyota Camry, highlighting the worn steering wheel he'd gripped through countless rides over the past 18 months. A far cry from the helicopters and tactical vehicles he'd commanded during his 22 years with SEAL Team 6. "Dad, you there?" He smiled at his daughter's voice crackling through his earbuds. "Always, Laurel. What's up?" "Just finished my shift at the library. Mrs. Peterson asked about you again. I think she has a crush on you." 19-year-old Laurel had her mother's laugh, light and infectious. She worked part-time at the Richmond Public Library while attending community college, studying to become a teacher. "Tell Mrs. Peterson I'm too busy for romance. I've got a daughter to put through school." "Dad, stop. You've done enough. I can take out loans." "No loans. We talked about this." Truman's voice remained calm but firm. His disability check from the Navy covered basics, but Uber paid for Laurel's education without debt. That mattered more than pride. After his wife Stephanie died from cancer 3 years ago, Laurel became his entire world. The military had been his life, classified operations in 13 countries, decorations he couldn't display, and a reputation that made enemy combatants whisper his call sign, Ghost. But none of that meant anything compared to being Laurel's father. I know, you're the best, Dad. Listen, I'm meeting Marcy Adkins for coffee. She's that girl from my sociology class, remember? The one who's super smart? The one writing her thesis on political corruption? That's her. She's really nervous about something. Won't say what over the phone. I'll be home by 8, okay? Be safe. Text me when you get there. Love you, Dad. Love you too, sweetheart. Truman's phone pinged with a ride request, a pickup from the Capitol building. He put the car in drive, unaware that this would be his last normal day. Across town, in the marble-floored office of Virginia's governor, Chester Ayers poured himself a third whiskey before noon. His round face, perpetually red from alcohol and rage, twisted into a scowl as he read the email on his screen. "Governor Ayers, I have evidence of your son's activities with multiple young women. We need to talk. M.A. Delbert," he bellowed. His chief of staff and personal attorney, Delbert LeBlanc, entered with the smooth efficiency of a man who'd cleaned up countless messes. Tall, thin, with slicked-back silver hair, LeBlanc embodied old money corruption. "Sir? Someone's making accusations about Damien again. Handle it." LeBlanc read the email over the governor's shoulder, his expression unchanging. "Who's M.A.? How the hell should I know? That's your job. Find them, bury them. Use the usual channels." "Of course, sir. Though I should mention, if this becomes a pattern, perhaps young Mr. Ayers should exercise more discretion." Chester's face purpled. "My son can do whatever he wants. That's what power means. You think I worked my whole life to become governor so my family could be careful? No. We make the rules now. Understand?" LeBlanc nodded. He'd heard this speech before. 23 years as Chester's fixer had made him rich and complicit. "I'll make some calls. Judge Stokes owes us a favor, and I believe the district attorney needs our support for his re-election campaign." "Good. Now, get out." After LeBlanc left, Chester opened his phone and pulled up photos. Insurance policies, he called them. Pictures of judges, prosecutors, police chiefs, all compromised, all controlled. His network extended throughout Virginia's power structure like a cancer. His son Damien was untouchable because Chester made him untouchable. That evening, Truman completed his 14th ride and was heading home when his phone rang. Unknown number. "This is Truman." Heavy breathing. "Mr. Santana, this is Marcy Adkins. I was meeting your daughter tonight. Something's wrong." This man approached us at the coffee shop, said his name was Damien Ayers. He was really aggressive with Laurel, wouldn't leave her alone. She tried to be polite, but he grabbed her arm. I took a photo on my phone before he noticed. He got angry, threatened me, said his father was the governor, and I'd regret crossing him. Truman's hands tightened on the wheel. "Where's Laurel now?" "She left with me." We're in my car heading to her place, but Mr. Santana, I've been researching this guy for my thesis. Damien Ayers has done this before. 3 other girls, all assaults covered up by his father. One girl tried to press charges. She disappeared. No one could find her for months, and when she came back, she refused to talk. I have documents, police reports that were buried, payoffs to families. Your daughter's picture is on his phone now. I'm scared for her. Get Laurel home. Lock the doors. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Mr. Santana, be careful. These people, they're dangerous. The governor has judges, cops, everyone in his pocket. Truman's voice remained calm, that preternatural stillness that used to unnerve his SEAL teammates. So did a lot of other people I've dealt with. Thanks for the warning, Marcy. He hung up and immediately called Laurel. It went to voicemail. Then he got a text message from her phone. Dad, everything's fine. Going to hang out longer. Home late. Truman read it 3 times. Laurel never texted like that. She always used proper punctuation and emojis, never just Dad without a heart emoji. His instincts, honed through 2 decades of combat operations, screamed danger. He called Marcy back. Did Laurel get in your car? Yes. She's right here next to me. Why? Oh, God. Oh, my God, Mr. Santana. She's not here anymore. I stopped for gas and she said she was going to the bathroom, but there's another car, a black Mercedes. It's pulling out fast. I see Laurel in the back seat. Her hands, they're tied. What's your location? Truman was already executing a U-turn. Exit 47, Sunoco Station. Mr. Santana, the car's leaving. I can't. Follow them. Stay back. Text me the license plate. Do not confront them. Understand? Yes. Yes. Okay. God, I'm so sorry. Not your fault. Send that plate number now. Truman's phone showed he was 40 minutes from exit 47. His daughter was in the hands of a predator whose father controlled the entire system. For the first time in 18 months, Ghost came out of retirement. Chapter 2. The call Truman's Camry hit 90 on the interstate, weaving through traffic with precision muscle memory from tactical driving courses. His phone showed Marcy's text, black Mercedes S-Class, VA plate, Ayers 1 vanity plates. The governor's son was so confident in his immunity that he advertised his identity. Another text from Marcy. Following them to Warehouse District, old industrial area off Route 10. They don't know I'm here. Truman's mind operated in 2 modes simultaneously, the panicked father and the tactical operator. He forced the father down, let the operator take control. Emotion was the enemy. Clarity was survival. He pulled up a contact he hadn't used since his retirement. Xavier Snow answered on the first ring. Ghost? That really you, brother? X, I need the team. Now. My daughter's been taken. The line went silent for exactly 2 seconds. Snow processing, already moving. Location? Route 10 Warehouse District, Richmond. Target is Damien Ayers, Governor Chester Ayers' son. Armed unknown, capabilities unknown, hostage situation. I'm 15 minutes out. Dario's with me. We're rolling. How? You think we don't keep tabs on you? We knew you were in Richmond. Stand by, I'm making calls. Snow clicked off. Truman's hands remained steady on the wheel, but his jaw ached from clenching. 22 years of missions, dozens of hostage rescues, and none of them had felt like this. Another call, this one from Marcy. Mr. Santana, they went into a building, big warehouse, red brick, broken windows. The address is 2847 Industrial Way. I'm parked 2 blocks away. I can see the Mercedes by the loading dock. Good work, Marcy. Now leave. Get out of there. But Laurel, I've got this. Trust me. And Marcy? Send me everything you have on Damien Ayers and his father. Every document, every buried police report, everything. Okay, I will. Please save her, Mr. Santana. I will. He ended the call and pushed the Camry to its limit. 35 minutes away now. Inside the warehouse, Laurel Santana's ankles were bound with zip ties, her hands still free but useless as Damien Ayers circled her like a predator. He was 26, athletic, with the entitled swagger of someone who'd never faced consequences. Scream all you want, Damien said, sipping from a flask. Nobody can hear you out here, and even if they did, who'd come? My father owns this city. The police chief is his college roommate. The district attorney got his job because of my dad's endorsement. You think anyone's going to help you?" Laurel tried to keep her voice steady. "My father will find me." Damien laughed, high and mocking. "Your father? The Uber driver? Oh, I'm terrified. What's he going to do, give me a bad rating?" "You don't know anything about him." "I know everything about him, sweetheart. Truman Santana, age 48, dishonorable discharge from the Navy 18 months ago." "That's a lie," Laurel's voice cracked. "He was honorably discharged after 22 years of service." Damien pulled out his phone, showing her a document. "Says here, discharge under other than honorable conditions." "My father got his records. Your dad's a washout who couldn't hack it anymore. That's why he's driving Uber instead of playing soldier." Laurel knew the document was forged. Her father had shown her his real discharge papers, the commendations, the letters from commanding officers. But the fact that Damien had manufactured fake documents meant the Ayers family had been watching them. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why not? You're pretty. And your friend Marcy has been asking questions about me, writing some thesis about political corruption. She put my name in it. That's disrespectful. So I'm going to teach both of you a lesson about respect. When I'm done with you, Marcy will keep her mouth shut, and your Uber driver daddy will learn what happens when people cross the Ayers family." He walked to a workbench where Laurel spotted tools, wrenches, hammers, a blowtorch. "I've done this before," Damien said conversationally, 3 times. "The first girl, I just beat up. But my father made her disappear so well that I learned I could get away with more. The second girl, I broke her arm. She tried to fight back, which was hot. The third," he trailed off, smiling. "The third one learned to cooperate, eventually." Laurel's phone, which Damien had tossed onto a nearby crate, began buzzing. She'd managed to trigger the emergency SOS before he'd grabbed her at the gas station, holding the power button and volume button simultaneously for 5 seconds. The signal would have gone to her emergency contacts, her father and her Aunt Rosemary. Damien picked up the phone, saw her father's name. "Oh, Daddy's worried," he answered, putting it on speaker. "Hello? Put my daughter on the phone. She's busy right now. Actually, she's about to be very busy. See, she was rude to me at that coffee shop, and her little friend took my picture without permission. I don't like that." "Who is this?" "Damien Ayers. My father's the governor. You know what that means? It means I can do whatever I want to your daughter, and nobody can stop me. Not you, not the cops, not anybody." Truman's voice remained eerily calm. "Where are you?" "Like I'd tell you that. But here's what's going to happen, Uber driver. I'm going to hurt your daughter, bad. And then she's going to tell everyone it was just a misunderstanding, an accident. Because if she doesn't, my father will destroy what's left of your pathetic life. You'll lose your car, your apartment, probably end up in jail on some made-up charge. That's what power looks like. I'm going to ask you one more time. Where are you?" Damien's grin widened. "Or what? You going to drive over here in your Camry? Maybe give me a 1-star rating?" "Dad!" Laurel screamed. "The warehouse on Industrial Way, 2847. He's going to—" Damien backhanded her, sending her sprawling onto the concrete floor. "Shut up!" Through the phone, Truman's voice changed, not louder, but different. A sound Laurel had never heard from her gentle father, something cold and ancient and absolutely certain. "Damien Ayers, in 23 minutes, I'm going to be at that warehouse. You have 3 choices. 1, release my daughter unharmed and turn yourself in to federal authorities. 2, run as far and fast as you can and spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. 3, stay there and find out why they called me Ghost." Damien laughed. "Big words from an Uber?" The line went dead. Damien stared at the phone, then shrugged. "Your dad's a moron. By the time he gets here, if he even finds this place, I'll have called 10 cops who will arrest him for trespassing." But Laurel saw something in Damien's eyes that wasn't there before, the tiniest flicker of doubt. 18 minutes away, Truman made another call. This one was to an encrypted number that bounced through 3 servers before reaching its destination. "Zane speaking." "Z, it's Ghost. I need a favor." Zane Bennett had been Truman's communications specialist for 12 years. Since retirement, he'd gone into private cybersecurity consulting, which was code for "I hack things legally and sometimes illegally. Name it. Damien Ayers and Governor Chester Ayers. I need everything. Financial records, communications, the works. 30 minutes. That's ambitious even for me, Ghost. Then get help. Call Dominic and Graham. This is a package deal. They hurt my daughter. They're going to burn, but I need the evidence. Say no more. We're on it. 13 minutes later, Truman pulled into a parking lot 3 blocks from the warehouse. Xavier Snow's black pickup was already there, and 4 other vehicles. The team was assembling. 7 men in tactical gear stood around a tablet showing satellite imagery of the warehouse. Xavier Snow, Dario McCarty, Zane Bennett, Dominic Medina, Graham Perry, Rob Atkinson, and Daniel Price. SEAL Team 6, retired but not gone. Xavier looked up as Truman approached. We've got thermals, 2 heat signatures inside, 1 standing, 1 on the floor. Single entry point covered, no back exit. Visible. Damien's Mercedes is the only vehicle. He's alone with her. Any sign of weapons? Can't tell. Assume armed. Truman looked at his team, men who'd voluntarily dropped everything and driven here in under 20 minutes. I appreciate this, brothers, but if this goes south, it's on me. The governor will come after all of us. Dario grinned. Let him try. Besides, we were getting bored with retirement. Rules of engagement? Xavier's face hardened. We go in quiet. Secure Laurel first. If Damien reaches for anything that looks like a weapon, we neutralize. This is a rescue op, not revenge. Revenge comes later. Truman nodded. The operator in him agreed. The father wanted to tear Damien apart with his bare hands. 3 minutes, he said. Then we breach. Chapter 3. Breach and Reckoning. The warehouse had been abandoned for 5 years, windows broken, graffiti covering the walls. Perfect for someone who wanted privacy for terrible things. Truman and his team moved with silent precision, muscle memory overriding the months of civilian life. Xavier and Dario took point with suppressed firearms, completely illegal for civilian use, but nobody was thinking about legality right now. Dominic covered the rear. Zane stayed with the vehicles, monitoring police frequencies on a scanner. Through a cracked window, Truman could see his daughter on the floor, zip-tied, blood on her lip. Damien stood over her with a wrench, monologuing like a villain from a bad movie. My father taught me that power means never having to say sorry, Damien was saying. You want to know how many girls I've done this to? How many families my father's paid off or destroyed? This is what real privilege looks like, sweetheart. Not the fake kind you learn about in college. Real privilege is... The door exploded inward. Damien spun, shock replacing arrogance, as 7 figures in tactical gear flooded the room with military efficiency. Xavier had him on the ground in 3 seconds, knee on his back, hands zip-tied before he could even think about reaching for the weapon at his belt, a Glock 19, because of course the governor's son had a gun. Clear, Xavier called. Truman was already at Laurel's side, cutting her restraints with a tactical knife. I've got you. You're safe. Are you hurt? My face hurts, but I'm okay. Dad, how did you... She looked at the team surrounding them, all business. Who are these people? Friends. We're leaving. But Damien, pinned to the floor, started laughing. You're so fucked, all of you. My father is the governor. He'll have every cop in the state looking for you. You just assaulted me, broke into private property. That's 10 felonies right there. Xavier pressed his knee down harder. Shut up. I want a lawyer. I want... Graham Perry crouched down, getting close to Damien's face. Here's what you want. You want us to not show the police the camera footage. What camera footage? Graham held up a small device, a wireless camera with audio recording capability. The one we planted outside 15 minutes ago. Got everything. You threatening Laurel, admitting to assaulting 3 other women, bragging about your father covering up crimes. It's all recorded. Damien's face went pale. That's inadmissible. You broke in here. That's... Actually, Zane's voice came through their earpieces. We didn't break in. The door was unlocked. And Virginia is a one-party consent state for recordings in places where there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. A criminal actively threatening a kidnapping victim has no expectation of privacy. This recording is absolutely admissible. Truman gently helped Laurel to her feet. She was shaking but trying to be strong. Dad, he said he had fake documents about your discharge. He knew things about us. We'll handle it. Let's get you out of here. Wait. Laurel's voice was steady despite the tears. I want to see his face. I want him to know he failed. Truman understood. Victims needed to reclaim their power. He walked her over to where Damien lay pinned. Laurel looked down at him. You said my father was just an Uber driver. You said nobody would save me. Damien glared up at her, still defiant. My father will... Your father won't do shit, Truman said quietly, because while my team was rescuing my daughter, our tech specialist was busy. Zane, what do you have? Through the earpiece, Zane's voice was almost gleeful. Oh man, where do I start? Governor Ayers has been embezzling state funds for 8 years. Damien's trust fund, funded by taxpayer money routed through 3 shell corporations. And Damien's lovely activities? There's not 3 victims, there's 7. The governor paid off 6 families, had 1 girl institutionalized against her will. I'm looking at bank records, emails, text messages. It's a gold mine of corruption. Damien thrashed under Xavier's grip. You can't prove any of that. Those files are sealed, encrypted. We're encrypted, Zane corrected. Government encryption is a joke when you know what you're doing. And before you ask, yes, this was all obtained legally under Virginia's whistleblower protection statutes. I'm classifying this as a citizen investigation into government corruption. Very legal. Very cool. Xavier hauled Damien to his feet. So here's how this is going to work. You're going to walk out of here. We're going to let you go. And you're going to run straight to your daddy and tell him everything that happened tonight. You're letting me go? Damien's confusion was almost comical. We're not monsters, Truman said. We're not going to hurt you. We're just going to destroy your life legally, because unlike you and your father, we believe in justice, not revenge. That's a lie, Damien spat. You want revenge. You want to hurt me. Truman leaned in close. If I wanted to hurt you, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But my daughter wants you to face real consequences, and she deserves to see that happen. So you're going to leave here. You're going to spend the next few days thinking you got away with it, and then the hammer's going to fall so hard you'll wish we'd just killed you tonight. Xavier cut Damien's zip ties and shoved him toward the door. Get out. Damien stumbled, turned back. This isn't over. My father will... Your father's on the phone right now, Zane interrupted through the speakers, talking to his lawyer, Delbert LeBlanc. Want to hear? A recording played through someone's phone, Chester Ayers. What do you mean someone's been accessing our accounts? Delbert LeBlanc. Sir, someone with very sophisticated capabilities has breached our secure communications. They have documents, recordings. Chester. Find them. I don't care what it costs. Find them and make them disappear. The recording cut off. Damien's face had gone from pale to gray. Your father already knows he's compromised, Truman said. He just doesn't know how badly. Now get out. Clock's ticking. Damien ran. After he left, Laurel collapsed into her father's arms, finally letting herself cry. The team gave them space, quietly packing up their equipment. I was so scared, Laurel whispered. He was going to hurt me, Dad. Really hurt me. I know, sweetheart. I know, but you were brave. You kept your head. You got me that address. When you said ghost on the phone, that was your call sign, wasn't it? You were never just a Navy guy. You were Special Operations. SEAL Team 6, 22 years. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because that part of my life was classified, and because I wanted you to know me as your father, not as a soldier. But tonight, I needed to be both. Xavier approached quietly. We should move. Police scanners are lighting up. Someone reported vehicles in this area. Truman nodded. Laurel, these are my teammates. They came here tonight to save you. Every one of them dropped everything to help. Laurel looked at the 7 men, understanding, dawning. Thank you, all of you. Thank us by letting us help finish this, Xavier said, because those people aren't going to stop. Your father humiliated them tonight. They'll come back harder. Truman's jaw tightened. I know. That's why we're not done. Zane, where are we with the evidence? Uploaded to 3 separate secure servers and sent to 5 different journalists as encrypted files. They'll publish in 72 hours unless I send the decryption keys. Insurance policy. Good. Now we need more than evidence. We need leverage. We need to make sure they can't touch my daughter or any of us ever again." Dario grinned. "Finally, now we're talking about real strategy." "Let's move this conversation somewhere secure," Truman said, "and someone needs to check in with Marcy Adkins. She's probably terrified." As they left the warehouse, Damien's Mercedes still sat by the loading dock. Graham paused, pulled out a knife, and methodically slashed all 4 tires. "Petty?" he asked. "Deeply satisfying," Xavier replied. Laurel, still shaken but recovering, actually laughed. "You guys are intense." "Sweetheart," Truman said, guiding her to his Camry, "you haven't seen anything yet." Chapter 4. Power Plays. The governor's mansion at 3 a.m. was a flurry of panicked activity. Chester Ayres sat in his study, Delbert LeBlanc across from him, while Damien paced like a caged animal. 7 men, Damien was saying for the 3rd time. Tactical gear, military precision. They knew exactly what they were doing. "And they had recordings, Dad. They recorded me." Chester's face was purple with rage, whiskey glass shaking in his hand. "Who were they?" "The Uber driver's friends?" He made a phone call, and 20 minutes later, an entire strike team showed up. "An Uber driver doesn't have access to a private military team," Chester roared. "Delbert, what did you find on Truman Santana?" LeBlanc consulted his tablet. "There's a problem, sir. The military records we received appear to have been falsified." "What?" "The discharge papers showing other than honorable were forgeries. Good ones, but forgeries. I've been trying to access his actual service record, but it's classified at a level I've never encountered. The Department of Defense won't even confirm he exists." Chester's hand slammed on the desk. "What does that mean?" "It means," a new voice said from the doorway, "that you targeted the wrong man's daughter." They all spun. A woman in her 50s stood there, gray hair in a tight bun, wearing a dark suit. She had the posture of someone used to being obeyed. "Who the hell are you?" Chester demanded. "How did you get in here?" "My name is Rosemary Jacobson. I'm Truman Santana's sister-in-law and former CIA operations officer. I've been retired for 3 years, but I still have access to certain resources. Resources that told me my niece was kidnapped tonight." "That's a lie. My son never—" Rosemary pulled out a tablet, pressed play. The recording of Damien threatening Laurel filled the room, all of it. The boasts about previous victims, the plans to torture her, everything. Chester's face went from red to ashen. "Where did you get that?" "From people who know what they're doing, unlike you." She fixed Damien with a contemptuous stare. "You're a predator who's been protected by corruption for too long. That ends tonight." "You can't prove anything," Damien said, but his voice wavered. "Actually, we can prove everything. We have bank records showing embezzlement, communications showing cover-ups, medical records of your victims that were sealed by friendly judges. We have 7 years of evidence documenting your family's criminal enterprise." LeBlanc stood. "This is extortion. We'll have you arrested." "With what evidence?" "I haven't made any demands. I'm simply informing you that the truth is coming to light." Rosemary's smile was cold. "You've spent years building a network of corruption, judges in your pocket, prosecutors on your payroll, police chiefs who owe you favors, but you never encountered someone with Truman's background. SEAL Team 6 doesn't just teach combat. They teach psychological operations, intelligence gathering, and network disruption." "He's an Uber driver," Chester said weakly. "He's a decorated operator who retired honorably after 22 years of classified service. His team rescued hostages from warlords, took down terrorist cells, and executed operations in hostile territories against enemies far more sophisticated than you. Compared to that, dismantling a small-time corrupt governor is child's play." Chester stood, trying to reclaim authority. "Get out of my house. You're trespassing." "I'll leave. But understand this, you have 72 hours before evidence of your crimes goes public. If you attempt to harm Truman, Laurel, or anyone associated with them, that timeline accelerates. If you try to use your corrupt network to retaliate, we have contingencies. We've identified every judge, every prosecutor, every cop in your pocket. They're all being documented right now." "What do you want?" Chester's voice was desperate now. Money? We don't want your money. We want justice. Real justice, not the purchased kind you're used to. In 72 hours, multiple news organizations will receive complete evidence packages. Federal authorities will be notified, and your little empire will crumble. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Governor, stop calling Truman an Uber driver. He took that job to pay for his daughter's education, debt-free. That's called being a father you wouldn't understand. After she left, the three men sat in stunned silence. Finally, Damien spoke. Dad, what do we do? Chester's mind raced. Panic and rage warred for dominance. Delbert, call Judge Stokes. Call District Attorney Morrison. Call everyone. We're calling in every favor we have. I want these people arrested on any charge you can manufacture. Treason, terrorism, I don't care. Bury them. Sir, if what she said is true about documentation, I don't care. We've handled threats before. We'll handle this one. My family is not going down because of some washed-up Navy guy and his bratty daughter. But Delbert saw something in Chester's eyes he'd never seen before. Genuine fear. The next morning, Truman sat in a rented conference room with his team, Laurel, Marcy Adkins, and Rosemary. Laptops covered the table, displaying evidence organized into categories. Thank you for coming, Aunt Rose, Laurel said. I didn't know Dad had called you. He didn't. I have alerts on both of you. When your phone's emergency SOS activated, I was on a plane within 30 minutes. Rosemary hugged her niece. Nobody touches my family. Marcy, still shaken but determined, had brought all her research. I've been working on this thesis for 8 months. Governor Ayers and his son have left a trail of victims. But every time I try to verify details, witnesses disappear or recant, evidence gets lost, cases get dropped. Zane pulled up a chart showing connections. That's because the corruption network has 3 layers. First layer, direct employees like Delbert LeBlanc. Second layer, compromised officials, judges, prosecutors, police captains. Third layer, civilians who benefit from the arrangement, contractors who overcharge the state and kick back money, business owners who get favorable regulations. Graham added, we've identified 47 people in the network. Some are true believers who think the Ayers family is good for Virginia. Others are being blackmailed. A few are just greedy. Our advantage, Truman said, is that they still think I'm just an Uber driver who got lucky. They don't understand what we're capable of. That gives us time. Xavier leaned back. So what's the play? We leak everything and watch them burn? No, Truman said. That's the nuclear option. Too much collateral damage. Innocent state employees, confused voters, the whole system destabilizes. We need surgical precision. Laurel spoke up. I want them to face real consequences, not just scandal, but prison. And I want the other victims to get justice too. Marcy nodded. There's 7 victims we know about, maybe more. They deserve to see these men pay. Truman studied the evidence on the screens. Then we need to be smart. We have 72 hours before the automatic leak. In that time, we need to do 3 things. First, protect the victims and witnesses. Second, secure irrefutable evidence that will stand up in federal court. Third, neutralize their ability to retaliate. Ambitious timeline, Dario said, which is why we're splitting into teams. Rosemary, you and I will handle the federal aspect. We need FBI and DOJ involved, but carefully. Xavier, Dominic, Graham. You 3 find the victims, offer them protection and support. Get their testimony voluntarily. Zane and Daniel, you're on digital security. Make sure nothing can be erased or tampered with. Rob and Dario, you're running counter-surveillance. I guarantee Chester is looking for us right now. What about me? Laurel asked. You're going somewhere safe. Rosemary's arranged. No. Laurel's voice was firm. I'm not hiding. That's what they want. Silence victims. Make them disappear. I'm going to be visible, and I'm going to tell my story. Sweetheart, if you go public, they'll come after you harder. Let them try. Dad, you taught me to face problems head on. You can't protect me from this. The only way through is forward. Truman looked at his daughter, 19 years old, and showing more courage than most soldiers he'd known. You're right. Okay. Marcy, can you help Laurel prepare a statement? Absolutely. Everyone else, gear up. We've got 72 hours to dismantle a criminal empire. Let's make it count. Chapter 5. Counterattack. By noon, Chester had mobilized his network. Police Captain Johnny Freeman, who'd received $50,000 from the High Governor's discretionary fund last year, issued an APB for Truman Santana, wanted for questioning regarding kidnapping and assault. District Attorney Hippolito Stokes, who owed his position to Chester's endorsement, opened an investigation into domestic terrorism related to the warehouse incident. Judge Claude Sexton issued a warrant for the arrest of 7 unknown individuals matching the description of Truman's team. The corruption machine was humming, but Truman's team had anticipated this. Rob Atkinson, the team's surveillance expert, had been monitoring police communications all morning. "They're coming for you, Ghost," Rob said over encrypted radio. "Warrant's been issued. They're sending units to your apartment." "Good," Truman replied. He was in a federal building in downtown Richmond, sitting across from FBI Special Agent Sandy Patel. That means they're panicking. Agent Patel reviewed the evidence Truman had presented: documents, recordings, financial records. She was in her 30s, sharp-eyed, with a reputation for not being intimidated by powerful people. "This is explosive," she said, "but there is a problem. Half these officials have connections to federal judges who might squash warrants, and going after a sitting governor requires approval from several levels above me." "What if there was a national security component?" Rosemary asked, sitting next to Truman. "What do you mean?" Rosemary pulled out another file. "Governor Ayers has been taking money from a foreign shell corporation, Dalton Holdings, registered in the Cayman Islands. We traced it back. The ultimate source is a Russian oligarch with ties to organized crime and foreign intelligence." Patel's expression sharpened. "You're saying the governor's compromised by foreign actors?" "We're saying the money trail suggests he may be. Whether he knows it or not, he's been receiving funds from hostile foreign sources. That makes this a counterintelligence issue." It was a masterful play. Truman and Zane had discovered the connection while digging through financial records. Chester probably had no idea the money was Russian. He just saw numbers in accounts, but the connection was real enough to trigger federal jurisdiction. Patel made a call to her superior. 20 minutes later, she had authorization to begin a formal investigation into foreign corruption of state officials. "This gives me cover to move fast," Patel said, "but I need your team to stand down. No more vigilante operations. This has to be by the book from here." "Agreed," Truman said, "but we need protection for witnesses. Chester's network will try to intimidate or silence them. I'll arrange federal protective custody for anyone who agrees to testify." Meanwhile, Xavier's team had found the first victim, Terry Strong, age 23, who'd been assaulted by Damian Ayers 2 years ago. She lived in a small apartment outside Richmond, and when Xavier knocked on her door, she opened it with a chain lock in place. "Ms. Strong, my name is Xavier Snow. I'm here about Damian Ayers." Her face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. He hurt you. His father paid your family $100,000 to drop the charges. You've been afraid to speak up because you thought they were untouchable. They are untouchable. Please leave." Dominic stepped forward. "Ma'am, they hurt another girl last night, almost did to her what they did to you. But she has people protecting her, and we're here to offer you the same protection." "Who are you people?" "We're people who don't think money should buy immunity from justice. If you're willing to tell your story, we can protect you. Federal protection. Real authorities, not the local cops who are in Chester's pocket." Terry's eyes filled with tears. "They said if I ever talked, they'd hurt my family. My little brother, he's only 14. They threatened him." Xavier knelt so he was at her eye level. "They threatened a lot of people. That stops now, but we need your help. Will you trust us?" She was silent for a long moment. Then, "What do I have to do?" By evening, Xavier's team had located 5 of the 7 victims. 4 agreed to testify. 1 was too traumatized, and they respected her decision. The 7th victim, Anna Holloway, had disappeared completely. Her family didn't know where she was. "We need to find her," Graham said. "If Chester's people got to her..." Zane pulled up GPS data. Her last known phone location was 6 months ago at a psychiatric facility in Western Virginia, Hampton Ridge Mental Health Center. That's the place Marcy mentioned in her research, Dominic said. The governor had one victim institutionalized against her will. Xavier made a decision. We're going there, tonight. If she's being held against her will, we're getting her out. That's kidnapping, Graham pointed out. That's rescue, Xavier countered. What's the law for forcible commitment? Zane checked. Virginia requires 2 physicians to sign off, and the patient has to be a danger to themselves or others. But if the commitment was fraudulent, then she's being illegally detained. Let's go. Hampton Ridge Mental Health Center was a private facility in the mountains, the kind of place wealthy families used to hide embarrassing relatives. Xavier, Graham, and Dominic arrived after visiting hours, dressed in civilian clothes. They approached the front desk. We're here to visit Anna Holloway. I'm her cousin. Xavier lied smoothly. The nurse checked her computer. I'm sorry, Ms. Holloway isn't allowed visitors. Why not? Doctor's orders. She's in a restricted wing. Can we speak to her doctor? Dr. Joan Cooper isn't available. Perhaps you can call tomorrow. Xavier leaned in. Ma'am, I'm trying to be polite, but I know my cousin shouldn't be here. So either you let me see her right now, or I'm calling the state medical board and reporting this facility for unlawful detainment. The nurse's expression shifted. Sir, if you make threats, I'll have to call security. Go ahead. Security arrived, 2 guards who looked bored. Xavier calmly pulled out his phone and showed them a document. This is a federal investigation notice. Anna Holloway is a material witness in a case involving Governor Chester Ayers. If she's being detained against her will, every person in this facility will face federal charges for obstruction of justice. The head guard, an older man named Wilmer Ramsey, studied the document. This looks official. It is official. FBI Special Agent Sandy Patel issued it 2 hours ago. Now, are you going to let us verify Ms. Holloway's status, or do we come back with federal marshals? The guards exchanged looks. Ramsey made a decision. Follow me, but this is irregular as hell. They were led to the restricted wing, which was really just a locked corridor with private rooms. Anna's room had a small window. Inside, a young woman sat on a bed, staring at nothing. How long has she been here? Xavier asked. 6 months, Ramsey said quietly. Honestly? Never seemed like she belonged here, too lucid. But Dr. Cooper insisted she was a danger to herself. Let me talk to her. Ramsey unlocked the door. Anna looked up, confused and frightened. Who are you? My name's Xavier. I'm here because Damien Ayers hurt another girl last night. We're building a case against him and his father. Did you want to be here, Anna? Her eyes filled with tears. No. I tried to press charges against Damien. Then his father's lawyer threatened my parents. Next thing I knew, I was here. They said I was delusional, that I'd made up the assault, but I didn't. He hurt me. Graham stepped forward with a recording device. If you're willing, we'd like you to tell your story on record, and then we're going to get you out of here. You can do that? Watch us. 20 minutes later, Anna Holloway walked out of Hampton Ridge with Xavier's team, her testimony recorded and her commitment papers in hand. Dr. Joan Cooper would later be investigated for accepting bribes from Governor Ayers to falsely commit Anna. By midnight, Truman's various teams reconvened at the rented conference room. They had 5 victims willing to testify, evidence of illegal commitment and federal protection in place. Chester's going to escalate, Rosemary warned. He knows we're close. Let him, Truman said. Every move he makes now digs him deeper. We've got him on embezzlement, cover-ups, witness tampering, and now foreign corruption. Tomorrow, we release everything. Laurel entered with Marcy. My statement's ready. We're posting it online at 6 a.m. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Complete with evidence. That's going to cause chaos, Dario said. Good, Laurel replied. Let them see what these men really are. Truman looked at his daughter with pride. You sure about this? Once you post it, there's no going back. I'm sure, Dad. You taught me to stand up to bullies. Well, that's what I'm doing. Then we're all in, Truman addressed his team. 12 hours from now, this story goes global. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we finish this. Chapter 6. Exposure. At 6 a.m., Laurel Santana hit post on her prepared statement across all social media platforms. Within minutes, it went viral. My name is Laurel Santana. Last night, I was kidnapped and nearly assaulted by Damian Ayers, son of Governor Chester Ayers. I am the 7th known victim of Damian Ayers' pattern of violence against young women, violence that has been systematically covered up by his father's corruption network. I am sharing my story because silence protects predators. Ayers' corruption. Justice for victims. Attached were photos of her injuries, the audio recording from the warehouse, and links to supporting evidence. By 7 a.m., major news outlets were calling. Kathleen Norris, an investigative journalist from the Washington Post, had been one of the recipients of Zane's evidence package. She'd spent the night verifying sources and now published a comprehensive exposé. Governor's son accused of serial assault as evidence of corruption network emerges. The article detailed everything: Damian's victims, Chester's embezzlement, the network of compromised officials, even the Russian money connection. By 8 a.m., protesters were gathering outside the governor's mansion. By 9 a.m., FBI Special Agent Sandy Patel arrived at the mansion with federal warrants for Chester Ayers and Delbert LeBlanc. Inside the mansion, Chester watched his world collapse in real time. His phone wouldn't stop ringing, allies distancing themselves, donors demanding refunds, party officials calling for his resignation. "Tell me you have a solution," he said to LeBlanc. The lawyer looked defeated. "Sir, the evidence is overwhelming. The federal charges alone are career-ending, and with the victims speaking publicly, those lying whores, we paid them off. Governor, I strongly advise you to stop talking and hire criminal defense counsel. I want that Uber driver arrested, him and his entire team." "On what charges? They haven't broken any laws. Everything they did was technically legal, gathering evidence, protecting witnesses, reporting crimes to federal authorities." "That's impossible. They hacked our systems." The hacking was done by a licensed cybersecurity consultant as part of a whistleblower investigation, fully legal under Virginia state law. Chester's face was purple. "Then we make it illegal. I'm the governor. I can—" The doorbell rang, FBI agents with warrants. Damian, who'd been hiding in his room, started crying. "Dad, what do we do?" For the first time in his life, Chester Ayers had no answer. Agent Patel arrested both Chester and Damian that morning. Delbert LeBlanc was picked up at his office. Over the next 12 hours, federal agents arrested 16 officials connected to the corruption network. Judge Claude Sexton tried to flee but was caught at the airport. Attorney Hippolito Stokes attempted to bargain, offering to testify against Chester in exchange for immunity. He was denied. Police Captain Johnny Freeman retired immediately and hired a lawyer. The story dominated the news cycle. Cable news ran continuous coverage. Social media exploded with reactions. Victims' advocacy groups praised Laurel's courage. Political analysts dissected how the corruption had gone undetected for so long. And in a quiet hotel room, Truman sat with Laurel watching the news. "We did it," she said softly. "You did it," Truman corrected. "Your bravery started this. My team just provided support." "Dad, those men who came for me, your teammates, they risked everything to save me. Why?" "Because that's what teams do. We never leave anyone behind, and your family." Laurel hugged him tightly. "I'm glad I finally know who you really are." "I'm still your dad. That's the most important thing." His phone buzzed. Xavier's name appeared. "Yeah? Turn on Channel 7. Truman switched channels. A breaking news alert. Governor Chester Ayers charged with racketeering, embezzlement, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Son Damian Ayers charged with 7 counts of assault and kidnapping. The reporter continued. In an unprecedented move, federal prosecutors are seeking to have both Ayers men held without bail, citing them as flight risks and dangers to witnesses. This comes after a day of explosive revelations involving a network of corruption that allegedly reached throughout Virginia's government. Laurel smiled through tears. "They're not getting away with it." "No," Truman agreed. "They're not." Chapter 7. Trial and tribulation. The federal courthouse in Richmond became a media circus over the next 2 months. Chester and Damian Ayers were both denied bail after prosecutors presented evidence they'd attempted to threaten witnesses from jail using smuggled phones. The trial was expedited due to the overwhelming evidence and public pressure. Prosecutors from the DOJ built their case methodically. Financial experts testified about the embezzlement, victims gave powerful testimony about Damian's assaults, and former allies turned witnesses detailed the corruption network. Truman attended every day of the trial, sitting in the public gallery with Laurel, his team, and the other victims. They presented a united front, survivors and protectors together. On day 12 of the trial, Damian Ayers took the stand in his own defense. It was a disaster. His lawyer, a high-priced attorney named Darrell Hinton from D.C., tried to portray Damian as a troubled young man influenced by his father's corruption. But under cross-examination, Damian's arrogance returned. "Mr. Ayers," the prosecutor said, "you've heard testimony from 7 women describing how you assaulted them. Do you deny these allegations? Those women are lying for attention and money." "You believe all 7 women independently fabricated the same story?" "They probably talked to each other, coordinated their lies." "Mr. Ayers, we have audio recording of you admitting to these assaults. You said, and I quote, 'I've done this before, 3 times. How do you explain that?" Damian's face reddened. "That was taken out of context. Context? You were threatening Ms. Laurel Santana in an abandoned warehouse after kidnapping her. What context makes that acceptable?" "I was drunk. I didn't mean—" "You were drunk when you kidnapped and threatened to torture a 19-year-old girl?" The defense attorney objected, but the damage was done. The jury's expressions showed disgust. Chester's trial was separate, but ran concurrently. His defense strategy was to claim ignorance. He didn't know about Damian's crimes, didn't realize the money was coming from Russian sources, had trusted the wrong people. But Delbert LeBlanc offered a plea deal, testified against him. In devastating detail, LeBlanc described how Chester had orchestrated cover-ups, paid off families, and used his office to protect his son. "Governor Ayers knew everything," LeBlanc testified. "He ordered me to make problems disappear. He bragged about being untouchable. He said power meant never having to follow the rules." Chester's face remained stoic, but his hands shook. On day 15, the prosecution called Truman Santana to the stand. He wore a simple suit, his military bearing evident even in civilian clothes. "Mr. Santana, please tell the court what happened on the night of October 15th. Truman recounted the evening calmly, factually. The phone call from Marcy, his daughter's distress, the rescue operation. "You called in a team of former Special Operations soldiers. Weren't you taking the law into your own hands?" "No, sir. I called people I trusted to help rescue my daughter from a kidnapper. We restrained the perpetrator, recorded his confession, and immediately contacted federal authorities. We didn't hurt him. We followed the law." "Why didn't you just call the police?" "Because the local police chief was on the governor's payroll. Because the district attorney owed his job to Chester Ayers. Because 7 other women had tried the official channels and been silenced. My daughter deserved better than a system that had been corrupted." The prosecutor nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Santana." Chester's attorney cross-examined. "Mr. Santana, you have extensive military training, correct?" "Yes." "Including psychological operations and intelligence gathering?" "Yes." "Isn't it true that you orchestrated this entire scenario to embarrass the governor? That you manipulated events to make my client look guilty?" Truman's expression didn't change. "Your client is guilty. I didn't manipulate anything. I documented crimes that were happening and reported them to federal authorities. If you're suggesting I somehow forced Damian Ayers to kidnap my daughter, threaten to torture her, and brag about previous assaults on camera, then your client's son is even more incompetent than I thought." The gallery erupted in laughter. The judge gavelled for order, but even she was suppressing a smile. On day 20, both juries deliberated for less than 4 hours. Chester Ayers, guilty on all counts. Damian Ayers, guilty on all counts. The sentencing hearing was 2 weeks later. Federal Judge Luella Sexton, no relation to the corrupt judge who'd been arrested, presided. Mr. Damian Ayers, you have been convicted of 7 counts of assault, 1 count of kidnapping, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Your actions show a pattern of predatory behavior enabled by your father's abuse of power. You targeted vulnerable young women, confident that your family's status would protect you from consequences. You were wrong. She sentenced Damian to 35 years in federal prison, no possibility of parole. Damian collapsed in tears. His father sat stone-faced. Governor Chester Ayers, your crimes are even more egregious. You abused the public trust, embezzled state funds, obstructed justice, and created a network of corruption that damaged Virginia's government and harmed countless citizens. Most heinously, you enabled and protected your son's serial assaults on young women. You taught him that power meant immunity from morality. Judge Sexton's voice hardened. This court rejects that philosophy completely. You will serve 40 years in federal prison. Additionally, you are ordered to pay $12 million in restitution to the state of Virginia and $5 million to your son's victims. Chester's face finally cracked. He aged 10 years in that moment. As marshals led both Ayers' men away in shackles, Laurel reached for her father's hand. "It's over," she whispered. "It's over," Truman confirmed. Chapter 8. Aftermath. 6 months after the trial, Virginia was still recovering from the scandal. Lieutenant Governor Stephanie Manning had assumed office and immediately launched reforms to prevent future corruption. Ethics investigations were ongoing. 16 officials had been charged, 12 convicted, and 4 awaiting trial. Truman returned to driving Uber, but now people recognized him. Passengers would get in his car and thank him for what he'd done. Some asked for autographs. He politely declined, explaining he was just a father who'd protected his daughter. Laurel returned to school but changed her major to criminal justice. "I want to help other victims," she told her father. "I want to make sure what happened to those women never happens again." The victims had formed a support group, meeting monthly. Terry Strong became an advocate for assault survivors. Anna Holloway, after intensive therapy, started speaking at colleges about the importance of believing victims. Marcy Adkins published her thesis, which became a book, Corrupt Power: How One Governor's Fall Revealed America's Accountability Crisis. It became a bestseller. Truman's SEAL teammates returned to their lives, but they stayed in close contact. They'd proven that retirement didn't mean stopping, it just meant choosing your missions more carefully. One evening, Truman picked up a fare at the airport. A businesswoman in her 40s slid into the back seat. "Truman Santana?" she asked. "That's me. I'm Betsy Soto. I run a nonprofit that helps victims of violence. I've been trying to reach you for months." "I don't do interviews. I'm not a reporter. I want to hire you." Truman glanced in the rearview mirror. "I'm an Uber driver." "You're a man who took down a corrupt governor and saved his daughter. You have skills that could help countless other people. We need someone who can navigate corrupt systems, protect vulnerable witnesses, and isn't afraid of powerful people." "I'm retired from that life." "Are you? Because it seems like you're pretty good at it." Truman drove in silence for a moment. "What exactly are you proposing?" "Consulting work. When we encounter victims being intimidated by powerful people, when local authorities won't help, when the system fails, we call you. You assess the situation, provide protection if needed, document evidence. Everything legal, everything by the book, but with the expertise to actually get results." "That sounds expensive." "We've raised significant funding. Donors who were inspired by your daughter's courage. People want to support this kind of work." Truman considered it. Uber had been a means to an end, paying for Laurel's education. But that was almost complete. And the truth was, he'd felt more alive during those 72 hours than in the entire 18 months of retirement. "Let me think about it." "Fair enough, but Mr. Santana, the world needs people like you, people who won't back down just because the enemy has power and money." After dropping her off, Truman drove home thinking. When he arrived, Laurel was waiting with dinner. "How was work?" "Interesting. Someone offered me a job." He explained the conversation. Laurel listened, then smiled. Dad, you should do it. I should? You're miserable driving Uber. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate everything you've done for me, but you're meant for more. You're meant to help people who can't help themselves. That's what you did for me. And that's what you did for 22 years in the military. It could be dangerous. So was raising a teenager. She grinned. Seriously, Dad, do what makes you happy. I'm almost done with school. I can take out loans if... No loans. We've been over this. Then let me help. I've got a part-time job lined up after graduation. Between that and your new work, we'll be fine. Better than fine. We'll be doing good work together. Truman looked at his daughter, strong, brave, grown up. When had that happened? You really think I should do this? I think you'd be amazing at it. Besides, those rich creeps who hurt people need to know that someone's watching, someone who won't be bought off or scared away. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best. 3 months later, Truman Santana opened Sentinel Protection Services, a consulting firm specializing in victim advocacy and witness protection in cases involving powerful defendants. His SEAL teammates signed on as partners. Their first case involved a teenager in Maryland being stalked by a wealthy businessman's son. The local police had dismissed her complaints. Sentinel documented everything, provided protection, and helped her family navigate the legal system. The stalker was arrested within a week. Their second case involved a whistleblower in North Carolina being threatened by a corrupt corporation. Sentinel kept her safe until federal authorities could act. The work was meaningful, challenging, and exactly what Truman needed. One evening, he was in his office when Xavier called. "Ghost, turn on the news." Truman switched on the TV. Breaking news. Damien Ayers had been attacked in federal prison by another inmate, a man whose daughter had been one of Damien's victims. Damien survived, but was in critical condition. "Justice has many forms," Xavier said quietly. "It does," Truman agreed. Chester Ayers, meanwhile, had tried to appeal his conviction 3 times. Each appeal was denied. He would spend the rest of his life in prison, his legacy destroyed, his name synonymous with corruption. Truman felt no satisfaction in their suffering, only relief that they couldn't hurt anyone else. Chapter 9. Legacy. 2 years after the trial, Laurel graduated with honors. Truman sat in the audience as she received her degree in criminal justice, proud beyond words. At the reception, Laurel introduced him to her boyfriend, a kind, respectful young man named Daniel Price, who studied social work. They'd met in a class about restorative justice. "Your daughter's incredible, Mr. Santana," Daniel said. "She's going to change the world." "She already has," Truman replied. Later, Laurel pulled her father aside. "Dad, I've been offered a job with the FBI's Victim Services Division. They want people who understand what victims go through. People who won't give up on cases just because they're hard. That's perfect for you." "I learned from the best," she hugged him. "Thank you for everything. For believing me, for fighting for me, for showing me what real strength looks like." "Sweetheart, you showed yourself. I just provided backup. We made a good team. We did." They watched the sunset together, father and daughter, warriors in their own right. That evening, Truman received a call from Agent Sandy Patel. "Mr. Santana, I wanted to let you know, we finally tracked down the Russian connection to Governor Ayers' funding. It goes deeper than we thought. We're pursuing a major international corruption case." "Need any help?" "Actually, yes. We could use someone with your expertise to consult on witness protection for some high-value targets." "Interested?" Truman smiled. "Send me the details." After hanging up, he sat in his office, surrounded by photos, Laurel at graduation, his SEAL team in their younger days, the victims who'd found justice, the families they'd helped. His phone buzzed with a text from Xavier. "New case in Atlanta. Governor's chief of staff accused of sexual harassment. Victims being threatened. You available?" Truman replied. "Always." He'd been an Uber driver, yes, but before that, he'd been Ghost, SEAL Team 6 operator, protector, warrior. And now he'd found a new mission, standing between predators and their victims, ensuring that power didn't equal immunity. The governor had laughed when Truman showed up at that warehouse. "You're just an Uber driver." Truman had smiled then and said, "Tell him who I really am." Now the whole world knew. He was Truman Santana, father, protector, the man who proved that courage and justice still mattered, even against overwhelming power, and he was just getting started. Epilogue: 5 years later, Sentinel Protection Services had offices in 12 states. Truman's team had helped over 200 victims navigate corrupt systems, documented dozens of powerful abusers, and supported successful prosecutions of politicians, executives, and criminals who'd thought themselves untouchable. Laurel became a supervisory special agent in the FBI, specializing in crimes against children. She married Daniel, and they had a daughter they named Stephanie, after Laurel's mother. The 7 victims of Damien Ayers remained friends, supporting each other and advocating for survivors' rights. 3 of them joined victim advocacy organizations. One became a prosecutor specializing in assault cases. They'd transformed their trauma into purpose. Chester Ayers died in prison of a heart attack in his 8th year of incarceration. Damien remained imprisoned, repeatedly denied parole. His requests for clemency were rejected by every Virginia governor who succeeded Chester. Delbert LeBlanc, who'd cooperated with prosecutors, served 5 years and was released. He never practiced law again and lived quietly under an assumed name, his career and reputation destroyed. The corrupt network that had protected the Ayers family was dismantled completely. New ethics laws were passed. Virginia implemented independent oversight for gubernatorial activities. The scandal became a case study in law schools about institutional corruption and accountability. And Truman continued his work, one victim at a time, one case at a time, proving that one person with courage and skills could make a difference. He never forgot that terrified phone call from his daughter, never forgot the 40 minutes of hell driving to save her, never forgot the moment his team breached that warehouse. Those memories fueled everything he did. Every victim he helped was Laurel. Every predator he stopped was Damien. Every corrupt official he exposed was Chester. The world still had darkness, but it also had warriors willing to fight it. Truman Santana had been many things: soldier, operator, Uber, driver, father. But most importantly, he'd been exactly who he needed to be when it mattered most.
This is where our
And that
story
made all
comes
the
to an
difference.
end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.